everybody. Hey, so Monday night.
I should come out there?
Oh, I'll pick you up, seeing as I'll be here in the office.
Okay. Pick me up after work.
Yeah. Well, I'm not working, so I'm gonna be doing the stuff on the shop because I had to take the Corvette today because they need to get into the attic.
Oh, what are you doing at your house? You need to get in the attic.
Nothing.
Okay.
Hmm.
Keep my northerly your business.
Yeah.
Well, just give me an idea on Monday what time, because I'll take my shower. I'll get everything all set up. Get the cats fed. Get my stuff set up for the morning for the cats when I come back home, and I'll just come over and sleep.
Okay. Yeah. It'll be like in the evening.
Okay.
All right.
But I'll still check with you and see how close are we to doing this, so I know how to get myself all prepared.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. I love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Hi, Emily. Yep. Morning, Poorly. I don't fix TVs. I'm only. Good morning. How are you? Yep. This is Chris.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
All right.
I got a PS5 with a bad HDMI port. Do y'all do those?
Yep. 125.
125 is flat rate,
Yep.
or that's the flat rate, no extra?
No, they're. It's 125 bucks, man.
All right, my bad, bro. I'll be up there. If I come up there today, you think it'll be done today?
It wouldn't be done till Wednesday or Thursday,
Okay.
because
Thank you.
it's Memorial Day weekend. So.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I understand that. All right, I'll be up there soon.
Alrighty.
All right, bye.
This? That's my IODD. Ugh. Yeah, it's the so my IODD allows me to load and categorize different ISOs and load them at any time. Because I'm tired, Emily. That's how it works. Nice. How was the sea, Emily? What's going on, Ryder? Is this thing just blue screening on repeat now? What is going on? So yeah, so that's what's happening. What is actually blue screening on this? Hey, nice. Good for her. God. All right. Let's see what this error actually is. We gotta take this thing apart. We gotta look at the RAM. I was just telling Spec Wife that we need to go over to Waffle House. It's been too long. This woman gives me a bad phone number after she's been frickin' texting me all the time. Yeah, one day, right? Sure, Emily, come on. Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Chris.
Hi, Holly. Your computer's ready.
Oh, fantastic. So I can pick up all three and their chargers, right?
Yep.
Okay. You're open until what time?
1 o'clock.
Okay. Great. I will see you. If I can. How's the traffic out there this morning?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right. I will see you as soon as I possibly can.
Alrighty.
So,
Have a good one.
bye-bye.
You're gonna see how this memory test works. Because I think one of the memory modules is bad. Awesome, my dude. Glad you're feeling better. What's Cabela's? I don't know. We're trying to find that out. Oh, is it? Okay, I know what a Bass Pro Shop is. We have those here. guess while that's running, let's figure out what's on these hard drives. Seeing as I apparently have no idea what these are or where they came from. Okay, that's really confusing. Does it? Thank you, Emily. Yes, poorly. Don't look at me for permission. I'm not getting in trouble with your wife. Web server. Oh, is this my server backup? Should probably put this on my file server. No, that's too much. So we'll make a note of what that is and then come back to it. a couple years old, Emily. All right, what is this? This can go away. So this one can get formatted. So we'll do that. Is this a duplicate of that? Morning, GMT. Server backup. This is my server backup from like 3 years ago. Oh, this can get formatted. We need to finalize our game list for doing testing. And I also want to do an AI workload thing. It's just a battery. No unboxing. No, I can't do Indiana Jones. Because at least 3 of the cards won't work. Yeah, possibly. So the list that we have so far Cyberpunk. Maybe RDR2. This is Zoa Mango Splash. The first time I've had it. I don't know how I feel about it. Um, it's gonna be Ubuntu. No, I don't want Mountain Dew. I used to drink Mountain Dew when I was younger, and I grew out of the taste of it, you know? But the problem is, right now, we're getting crashes. So... No, just... Again, I'm using the Ubuntu installer when the time comes. Because right now, I'm just, like I said, I'm getting a memory failure. Why does it look like I'm being lit from underneath? That's weird. There we go. We'll reflect the light and make my face look better. Right now I'm trying to find the benchmark list that Jay's uses. Oh, I remember Surge. You got to get rid of the word the. It's just Surge. It did. Yeah. Not sure why you didn't hear me well. But yeah, Jay's recently updated their benchmark. Like the stuff that they use to benchmark. Yeah, you can still buy Crystal Pepsi from some places. That's weird. Oh, man. I don't believe Surge was ever considered an energy drink. I think it was just like a caffeine drink. A regular soda. Yeah, they recently, like, I remember watching a video which I can no longer find. They said they recently updated the software that they use for testing, because for the longest time Jay was using Port Royal, even though Port Royal hasn't been relevant in a very long time. So I was just looking to see exactly what he's using now to add to the list of stuff to test for this 5060. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember Surge. You can still buy Mellow Yellow. Come on. And they called it Mellow Yellow. Yeah, man. It's got that weird logo. Yeah, Mellow Yellow. You can still 100% buy that. Yeah, mister, I might have broken ribs, but won't go to the hospital. Where is this? And we're testing the memory on it now because it might just be dead. Ugh, Nesquik. F that. You see? Ramrod's on your side, master. Yeah, you think I can afford it? I went, what, 15 years without having a primary care physician? And just going to urgent care whenever I needed something? The joys of being self-employed? Morning, Mr. Big. I wonder if he got rid of this video, or was it on Gamers Nexus that they did that? Yep, you just got to the exact same thought I did. what windows? Hello. He's not all knowing. He doesn't know when to be a good person. And he doesn't know when to let stuff go. When he learns that, he'll be all knowing. No, man. I don't have any hard drives to give anyone. Master, you're on one this morning. You need to chill. Like, straight up. And no. LTT still does some things that aren't so kosher. But then again, basically every large company, as soon as you end up with more than one employee, it ends up happening. Yes, Emily. Yeah, because that's always a big thing you have to think about is like as soon as you have more than an employee, you're going to end up in this situation where you can't control literally everything everyone does at all times. So you end up with having people that make mistakes and they represent your company. And as soon as that happens, you're just kind of you're stuck in a situation where you are playing apologist rather than being the one that's actually making the statements, which is a crap situation to be in. Yeah, basically. Yeah, I'm gonna run an M test here in a minute. Yeah, no memory errors were detected. I'm good. I c Excuse me. Yeah, it will get spicy. Yeah, Nvidia paid $1 million to have dinner with Trump. They're not gonna balk at Steve doing anything. Do I not have mem tests on this thing? Yeah, apparently. Yeah. I think I'm gonna need to download memtest 86 again. Yep. Yeah, they're doing so well in those. Yes. You know, it would be funny. There, Ram. What happened is the dinner that they had, that Nvidia had with the president, was them buying a mobile McDonald's for him to go to the UEFI. To go to the did I just say UEFI? To go to the United Arab UAE. There you go, UAE. Linux ISO with Grub. You say that, but you don't actually know, right, Master? I have no idea what Grub is. Sorry to, you know, shatter your perception that I'm an all-knowing tech guy. That I know what I've learned and what I haven't learned, and what I haven't learned is what I haven't learned. Gerb? Why are you saying Gerb? I messed that up. Oh, there it is. Oh, is it? Shows what I don't know. So I need to put together a small AI workload that I can deploy on a testing computer for testing 6 video cards that I bought. And I just need it to be a repeatable test. And I was looking for recommendations. I was thinking of Llama, but I always start by asking you. All right, I'll be right back. For the video card test. There's an unmarked cop car outside. What's going on, Tech? I'm gonna get rid of this just to have that. All right. I don't know why this thing won't. Like, let me load this ISO. Because that's what he wants. Trying to load this mem test ISO, and it is not working. Now, I mean, is there a benefit to the dual boot versus using a hypervisor? I have no idea, my dude. But I'm sure there is. I just don't know what that would be. Well, I'm using an IODD to load the ISO. Yeah. So I guess I need to create a VHD. Create VHD. Creating a VHD. Yeah, me too. Alright, I just need a 32 gig flash drive at this point. Which I don't have. apparently, the reason this isn't working is because of Secure Boot. Because of course. Playing a game, Emily, like I usually do on my phone. What are you doing on your phone? Bro, I'd be okay with getting sponsored to do that. Can I disable Secure Boot? I cannot. All right, so we're doing this the not so easy way. It's the same game I've been playing this whole time, Emily. I've been here the whole time. It's called Balatro, Emily. Oh, shit. I find it interesting that Ubuntu is still listed here in this boot menu. For some reason. So why did that not work? Mm-hmm. It's better than me actually gambling, you know? At least that's what my doctor tells me. So we get loading files. I do remember that. And then it just hard reboots. There it goes. No, Windows 10 was supposed to be the last operating system they released. There's also, what was it, Linux on Windows is a new thing. Like, there's a whole distro for it now. I know, Mr. Big. Don't you think I do things with for a reason? Yeah. Just like you're the most sober member of our chat, Master. All right, there we go. Uh-huh. That, and I don't want you guys stealing my keys. Even though I've leaked it before. What part of the chat did I miss? You must inform me. Tell me now. The key that I'm not telling you about. All right, we're going to run this test until it fails. Because it's gotta fail. Don't say that. Please tell me that it'll fail. I need it to fail. Okay. So if I leave this running long enough, eventually it just will blue screen and restart. And I did a memory dump, and the memory dump came back with page fault in non-paged area. You wish, Master. You wish. I gotta order some parts too here. Which, that's what I was in the process of doing. So, I'm gonna let this run for quite a while. Can't update the BIOS because the BIOS is locked with an administrator password that the owner doesn't have. It is a Ryzen 7 5000 series. I don't specifically know which one. And it is the most recent release of Windows 11. Speed pack. Can't do speed pack because I'm not getting stuff shipped from China. Time to knock the chips out. US only. There you go. All right, so that's ordered. So far what I've gotten from Steve's video is turn the Windows firewall off. Firewall fast, startup off. Okay. No, I agree. ATI. Woo, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. I think you're following. I see. Uh-huh. Okay, so he's making changes to the BIOS now. Oh, thank you, Adam. Do they? Yeah, was he? What's wrong with Konami games? I see. This is Chris.
Hey Chris, I have a laptop that I was wanting to put the information on a flash drive and kind of back up the information that we have on it. Is that something you guys do?
Well, sure.
How much does something like that cost?
65 includes the flash drive.
Can we bring it in now to do it?
Yeah, you can bring it in now and leave it with me. I won't be getting to it till probably Wednesday because of the holiday weekend.
Okay. Okay. It's my daughter's and she's flying out at 4 o'clock today. We thought it was something we could do instantly, so
Well,
I apologize.
yeah, and even on top of that, flying out at 4 o'clock today, depending on how much data is actually on there, it could take a couple hours.
Really? Okay. Didn't know that. All right. Well, let me talk to her, and if she thinks she can leave it, we'll go ahead and leave it. But I think that they need it on the trip, so let me make sure. And we'll
Yeah,
get
sure.
back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye. So one of the things that Steve is doing is basically locking everything in the BIOS so that it always stays exactly the same. Yeah. Did you ever update your BIOS? Yeah. Yeah. What is this? I don't have one of those. I don't think it matters. Yeah. You still here, Ramrod? So, what do you use beaming for? I did, yeah. I said, what do you use beaming for?
Before we get into details is a wire view update. He's got their bench table water block. So this over here has a really interesting finish we'll be talking about with Joe from Thermal Grizzly. So we'll get into some of the manufacturing detail. The micro fins here are also pretty interesting, very tightly spaced together. And then a Rubik's Cube that doesn't spin, but I've already put in the request for Computex 2026, and I am assured that it will be done. Right?
So for the moderators, I updated that post about the video. If you guys want to give me any feedback, notes, I would, I'd appreciate
We've got a
it.
commitment.
Before that, this video is brought to you by the Thermaltake TR100 Portable Mini ITX case. The TR100 case has a mesh ventilated front panel, heavily perforated side and top panels, and claims to support up to 280mm liquid coolers and large GPUs up to 360mm long and 70mm thick. It even has an optional suitcase.
So that's a real bad situation. So her husband died a week ago, and he owns that laptop, but the business partner of that person thinks there's information on there, so now he's suing her to get that laptop, and they want a copy of the hard drive before they send it to them. And I could, like, with my power cord for my MacBook Pro, I couldn't get it to turn on, so I'm sending them down to the Mac store down the street to see if they can get it to turn on. If they can, then they're going to bring it back. Then I have to go get a power cord from them to get it to turn on, so then I can back up the data on the computer. That's going to be a fun situation. Sure, Rinsler. What's your question? It's new. Yeah. Well, I'm going to document everything that I do. Hey. It's noon. Just calling to make sure you're up. I know. All right, I love you. Bye. Yeah. So, like I said, I'm trying to insulate myself. They've already retained an attorney. They just want a copy of the documents and stuff that are on that laptop. And yeah. And his part, like, the whole thing is there's basically what they were saying is the other person who's doing the suing is basically saying, hey, I now own 100% of this company. You need to just do what I say because, you know, it's mine now, not yours. And they're not even allowing them to see, like, the operating agreement for the company. So that's kind of something shady. You're on the MSI website comparing your MPG AS13 to the new MPG AS14. On paper, it looks like the AS13 is still better. Can I just buy a 59? Yes. You can just buy a 5090 and throw it in your current system. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able to. It's just the only thing that I would say is if it physically doesn't fit, but I think it should fit. Yeah, that was my only concern, like the physical dimensions. But I don't see why it wouldn't fit. Oh, you're talking about the laptop? No. Yeah, it's always going to be compatible. A video card is... You can put a freaking 5090 in a computer from 20 years ago and it'll work. Will it work well? No, but it will. I would be more concerned with the physical dimensions and it fitting in there. The Trident, okay. The Trident all-in-one? What? There's zero chance that video card would fit inside that case. Especially if it's that specific one. Oh, okay. All right.
So can we
Yeah, you can leave it with me.
see if it'll charge?
Yeah. See if I can get this thing to power on. All right, that's actively charging now. No, and I wasn't gonna ask, but it was recent. Yeah, very much. But it's like the way they were talking, it just seems like they knew something was happening. So it like yeah. Yeah. I'm not even gonna touch it, and I'm gonna do everything on stream. But at the same time, I might not even stream when I'm working on that. I might just record it locally. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's crappy.
Case with cutouts for the system, a mouse, keyboard, and monitor for transport. The Thermaltake TR100 Mini ITX.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
So we made WireView originally because Elmore had his PMD for power tracking, and I thought it would be cool to have something like this in the system. That's how it started. And then NVIDIA came up with this brilliant connector, and then things started to melt.
I thought you hated the connector.
No, it's a nice connector.
Oh, okay, yeah. You got per pin current, this is maybe voltage, or what is this display? Okay.
Or we could configure it to like power as well. This is like really early prototyping stage.
So the thing I want to point out right away, we've been talking about this stuff already, but basically this, if you don't know the WireView, it sits between the GPU and the power cable from the power supply, and it can track the power. But the interesting thing now is you're also doing data logging.
Yeah.
So you said around 3 months of data?
Yeah, we didn't set the interval yet, but we're thinking about maybe like 5 seconds. So every 5 seconds it would store the current, the voltage, the temperature, so everything that the device is tracking into the storage of it. Because, you know, we're getting closer to figure out why it sucks so much, the connector.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of guessing.
Where's the temperature polling?
There are multiple. So you have temperature sensors on the connectors, and then you have additional ones on the bottom too. You can plug in, and you could hook up to, I don't know, your backplate or air temperature inside your system, like 10K NTC temperature sensors.
Got it. So for the logging, I mean, the value of that to me would be the overtime change for current or for voltage, I guess. So like if you start seeing a creep up in current, or maybe it could point you towards a resistance issue or something. Are there any other, what are all the benefits of the logging? I mean, is that
the thing is, you know, obviously we hope that with per pin sensing that we would figure out, or the customer would figure out something is wrong before it fails. But we don't really know if that's the case. There could still be that the current is maybe a bit higher, but there could be just a point of contact resistance that is a bit higher and then causes more heat, whatever. We don't know, it's just speculation. But what we're hoping to figure out is that if it fails, then we can read out what's going on and then maybe draw a conclusion from there.
Is this unfailable?
No, for sure not.
Okay, so let's get into that. So this is one of the things where, one of the problems we had with some of the marketing claims that some cable companies were making previously in the early days of 12-volt high power was related to the reliability. Yeah. Where my feeling on the connector at this point, after we did the research piece a while ago, is that I personally would, if I were a manufacturer, I would not ever feel comfortable saying this will not fail if it has the connector on it.
The question is how fast does it fail?
And how many, right? Yeah. So do you have any numbers from like prior WireViews?
So I checked that for the WireViews that we sold so far that use 12-volt high power connectors on the GPU side. So we have multiple different versions. Also, for example, one that has triple 8-pin input and then a single 12-volt high power output, like an adapter. And from when we started selling it, it's about 3,700 units. Okay. And we had 12 confirmed cases of melted connectors.
I can't do that math in my head that quick.
So that's about 0.3%.
Okay. The fan, it looks like, what is it, a 40 mil? Or what is it, or small?
It's a 30 millimeter.
30 millimeter.
Yeah.
So just a 30 millimeter fan, you're pulling in through the top, I guess. Yeah. There's some cutouts here. And what primarily is this cooling? Is it just the connector?
So it's blowing directly on the back of the connector, but it's also dissipating heat from the PCB and from the case itself, because we have, through all the circuitry that's on it, the shunt resistors, and you have 2 connectors, so you have 24 points of contact resistance. Yeah. So that can easily add up to, I don't know, 5 to 10 watts of heat. Okay. And the fan would help just dissipating that heat, even if it's like the normal operating state. Especially if you use this on a water block and you have like no airflow inside your system, 5 to 10 watts on such a small surface, that it would heat it up quite a lot. Okay. And that's what we already experience on the current WireViews.
More than likely, because it's not a knock to a
5090.
fan.
Yeah. So we had to account for that, and we're obviously hoping that if there is a current imbalance, then maybe the fan can help a little bit to mitigate the risk of it immediately failing.
What about fail safes? So because we
That's also interesting. Yeah.
So what's the story with those?
There's a small 2-pin connector in the bottom right here, and so like right here next to the USB-C, and this 2-pin connector, you would get a Y splitter cable, and you can hook this up to the mainboard power button.
Okay.
And then we plan to define.
So basically, you plug in the switch, the button switch, and then this into the splitter, and so then whichever one's being used will just.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it could trigger the system to shut down.
No.
I think the most valuable thing
Why would
for
it be a
the
dig at you?
public would be just the data from failures. Like really, what you need is failures. So
it's
which is not something I would normally say to a company selling a product. But like so here's the plan. All right, you're Der Bauer right now. You're not Thermal Grizzly. So as Der Bauer, the best thing that can happen is that you have some failures. Because now I understand what he's doing now. The business strategy is clear. You've created an infinite content loop where first you sell the product, and then you can collect data from failures that presumably are not your fault. And
well, I'm a Noctua fanboy
then
too.
You
I
can
like
use that
Noctua.
to create videos, and then you can use that to create more products. It's brilliant. All right.
Thanks. And it's all only thanks to NVIDIA. So.
Thanks, Jensen. So, I'm sure he'll watch. I'm sure he's watching right now. He's just put your name and my name on a blacklist for GPU samples.
Also, you mean we can't go to the keynotes anymore?
Oh, they definitely don't want me there.
Too bad.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on this that we need to know about?
I mean, there's also a USB-C which will hook it up to your system. You can monitor over software. You can configure stuff over the software, and
you can write to the device.
Yes, you can write to it, and there should be space to also put some images on it if you want to.
Can you just uninstall the software after?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's exactly the point.
That's all I want. Price, release date?
Release date, let's say probably end of the year.
You skipped the first one.
Yeah.
Price, TBD?
I guess around 100.
Okay.
Because the problem is that on this one, you might have recognized the MSI connector.
Yeah.
That we just repurposed, but we need one that is going to be longer for compatibility reasons. And so we need to make our own connector, which is really expensive and high MOQ, which means that we have to invest quite a lot of money into this.
Minimum order quantity for people. So they have to custom mold something?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the lead time is quite long. That's the main part. It will take us 3 months to just get the connector.
Okay, got it. What's the impact to pricing from just a custom connector? I mean, how much does that really move? Versus, because there's a lot going on here, like PCB and everything else. So how much is the connector contributing?
I think it's aside from the case, it's the most expensive single part.
Okay.
Yeah, because the rest, even the
I'm gonna buy one more than likely.
The ICs on there are not that expensive, but the custom connector, the connector itself is not expensive, but if you take the mold into account, which is several 10,000 euros,
nice.
Then it quickly adds up.
All right.
Hey, this is Chris over at the computer shop. Hello?
Yeah.
Hey, this is Chris over at the computer shop.
Yeah.
I was able to get that power on.
Oh, perfect.
All right.
Did you get the password?
Yeah, it looks like it was the one with the capital.
Okay.
So I will let you know once I'm able to back anything up off of it, okay?
Okay, yeah, sounds great. Thank you, sir.
Yep. Have a good one.
You too, bye.
Bye. I don't know if the drive is encrypted. But, like I said, I'm not doing anything with that now that I know that it's working. I'm going to record everything I do. I generally, if I'm going to require internet, what I'll do is I will do it in the presence of the actual owner, because I don't want to end up in a situation where they're like, well, you shouldn't have done this because you know that they could publicly erase it, or like they could remotely erase it. So I'll just say, look, start to finish, here's what's going to happen.
Right.
But
last
even
two
then, putting it
vacancies-
on its own subnet wouldn't necessarily prevent it from deleting if it has like a remote deletion thing, or worst case scenario, if the username and password gets updated through iCloud, then I wouldn't be able to get into the computer for them. Which definitely would be a problem. I'm going to buy one of these.
Did you say it was 32 megabytes of storage?
It's
or what was
it's
it?
either going to be 16 or 32 megabyte.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the case, you could make it at Thermal Grizzly at the factory we went to. Do you think you will?
Yeah, we will probably make the initial batch, but I'm afraid that we might not have the capacity
To keep up?
So if we make, I don't know, maybe 2,000 units initially, we might not be fast enough.
Right.
So we might outsource the part of
Switch,
it.
yeah. All right, let's do this one.
Yeah.
So their bench table, we saw this when I visited the factory.
Yep.
You said you wanted to make this for you, and then if people want to buy it, I guess cool.
So
Why
yeah.
did you want it?
For years, if you check on my channel, my bench table is an empty PCB with a couple of standoffs on it. Because I
That's what
never
I use.
found bench tables useful, just big and like, I don't know. I never found it useful.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, I was thinking about why did I not use an actual PCB that can contribute something to it.
Right.
So I was brainstorming with Elmore, and then he said it's an amazing idea to add RGB underneath.
Okay, got it.
So
yeah.
he was really happy about that part.
Yeah.
And then we were thinking about what could we actually make useful.
So is this just a giant diffuser around the edge
Yeah.
here? Okay.
So, yeah, that's also how it kind of evolved. So we originally just wanted to make a PCB and standoffs, and that's it.
We should probably
Yeah.
take a step back too, and what does it actually do for people?
All right.
So I mean, obviously you put the motherboard on top of the standoffs here.
Yep.
These just unscrew and then hold it, like
Yep.
secure the board. So it's a test platform.
Yep.
But you've got a bunch of stuff coming out of it. So walk me through the different types of connections.
Yeah, so we call it like an act.
So in that situation, if a computer comes in, hello again, Adam. If a computer comes in with like a known virus, and I know it's going to do that, I'm never going to connect it to a network. Like ever, I wouldn't even risk putting it on its own subnet. If anything, what I would do is I would probably turn on a hotspot. I have a hotspot here that connects directly to cellular, and then run my software via like a flash drive off the hotspot, because then the hotspot is just infecting the cell phone carrier's network, not mine. I don't know what Dune Awakening is, Emily. No, generally I don't. Because what I do is I look at most computers at my front counter before. I'm not going to look for it, Emily. It's not something I'm interested in. I've never been into Dune. I look at it at the counter, and if I see something going on, like, okay, you know, here's the things that I'm going to do in this situation. So, sleepiness. So, because it all basically, I have to put my hands on it before I can make a decision about what I'm going to do. that kind of deal. And then just make determinations and decisions after that point. I generally won't, if I know something has a virus or even is suspected as a virus, I won't let it touch my network. I do have a subnet set up for computers that come in that have remote desktop software on them, where I will connect it to that network, and it prevents all remote access software that I am aware of. As new ones are released, obviously, I would have to add them to that. But it stops things like the Ultra Viewer, so Ultra Viewer, Team Viewer, Go to My PC, AnyDesk. There's one other one I don't know off the top of my head. But basically, I can still connect to the internet, but anytime those services try and reach out, my firewall blocks them. Bomgar? I'm not sure what that is. Does not sound familiar. Odd ranks. I should be going for aces. Yeah, so this thing has been running for an hour and a half and it still hasn't found any errors. So let's restart this. I guess Master was right on that one. Other problem is I can't get this last update to actually push in. Yeah, there's a good chance that's what it is. It is just this operating system. I'll check here in a second. Actually, I can check right now. It's right here. So all these installed. The last one is a KB5058405. Interesting. What's going on, Celadine? I believe I'm on 23H2 or 24H2 right now. I don't know right off the top of my head. I'll have to look again. Because I actually forced through an update. Like I updated my ISO all the way. And then after my ISO was updated, then I did a Windows reinstall or a repair install in like an in-place install to get it to actually install up to 23H2 because it wouldn't. Your operating system is out of date and will no longer receive updates. Great. Interesting. No, that's crazy. Well, at least you know what's going on. That is always a good thing. It actually doesn't work like that exactly. The ones that are publicly available, they do like once a year, but the internal ones. So what ends up happening is there's this back and forth that happens with Microsoft where they're like, hey, these are the new drivers we want to package. They send them for certification. Then Microsoft sends back an ISO and says, is this good? And then they do internal testing. And then they'll kick back, hey, here's the changes we make. Then they'll kick it back again. Then they'll do internal testing. Then they'll update all of the install ISOs. But they won't do a revision change until it's been certified for like 6 months. It's a process, to say the least. Hey Siri. Is it supposed to rain today?
There's a possibility of rain today.
Starting at 4? Interessante. Well, you also have to remember that it depends on when they're manufactured, not when they're purchased, because they're not built unless they are like a custom order thing. So they're just sitting in boxes from whenever they're actually manufactured. Because they don't open them, like when you do even a large scale order, they're not going to go open those boxes and redo stuff with them. Oh, you want me to stand up a little? I see. Well, it's not supposed to rain till 4 here. I don't know about by you, sir. How am I supposed to do that exactly? I'm here by myself for another 10 minutes. I will go for a walk by myself when I go outside and take the top off of my Corvette so I can drive it home. I don't know. I do have things that I know I need to do, but I'm going to try and put them off as long as possible because I'm being petty like that. I'm trying to be right now. Yes. Oh, great. I'm just the dudes out front. All right, bye.
Active bench tables. We have different
I do want one of
zones
these.
and different purposes. The main purpose for me is this connector, which is just internal USB connection to the motherboard above.
She
So you
means
have a wire that goes
box is a
directly onto
TV
the motherboard.
service.
And this connects the USB connectors right here. So the 2.0 is connection to the motherboard, different zones and different purposes. The main purpose for me,
I wonder how much your thing's gonna cost.
this connector, which is just internal USB connection to the motherboard above. So you would have a wire that goes directly onto the motherboard. And this connects the USB connectors right here. So the 2.0 for two here
connectors,
and 2 on here. So for me personally, that's just where I would hook up like keyboard and mouse, for example. And then also 4 micro SD cards. Micro SD because mainly it's extremely cheap. So you can get like 64 gigabyte for €5.
Yeah.
And then I would have one where you have like your Windows image and like BIOS and drivers and all that. And I would, I plug it in, I immediately have everything I need every single time I'm swapping the platform. So that's the main point.
So I think, I working in a basically lab environment, I understand why for this stuff. I think the immediate question if I'm a viewer is like, why would I plug a keyboard and mouse into this when I can plug the keyboard and mouse into basically the back of the I/O, right, for the motherboard? The answer I come to is because I'm changing the board constantly. Okay.
Yeah, because you know how it is with testing. Sometimes you get a new, CPU, GPU review, and you have to swap 5 times a day the different motherboard.
Right.
Then all I have to swap is this.
Cool. Yeah.
And I'm lazy,
Yeah, sure.
So.
And then, do you actually personally pull from like this as opposed to network attached storage or something?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Currently, I'm just using different USB sticks.
Yeah.
And then I found this is just...
What a pain in the ass. Okay.
Yeah.
I see why you did this. There are other ways, just so you know. I see why you can pixie boot. But I understand, though.
Yeah.
How about what's going on over here?
Yeah, so you can also add 2 SATA SSDs.
Yeah.
But you would just traditionally have to plug them over SATA cable into your motherboard. So this is not going over USB, obviously.
Okay. Yeah.
But at least that's why I wanted to have it. So if I have my Steam game library on there, which is like now I don't know, like over a terabyte of all the games, then
I would like. I think I'm gonna buy one of these.
SSD on here, which its main reason is because it's cheap.
Yeah.
And that's
like
why I would have this on here, and then everything always present.
How about the switches? There's a couple switches on here. So what do those do?
So we have different zones. So we have 3 fan and 1 pump zone.
Okay.
And each one is fused off, so you always see the tiny fuse. You can either choose from 100% fan speed, 50%, or EXT, which is external. And the external mode draws from the external fan connector. So you could plug this into your CPU connector on the motherboard, right? And then everything that would be set to EXT would be connected to this.
Got it.
Same thing for the pump zone, except for the pump having like less connectors, but it's also 3 amps. So you would have basically here have 3 amps for this zone, while you also have 3 amps for the pump zone.
Right.
There's probing points. So either you could use it for probing, but I personally want to use it as a power supply. So if I have any external device I want to hook up to my PSU, then I can just solder wires to it. And you power everything through 1 6-pin. And this also gives power to those 2 USB Type-Cs, which you can use for charging, for example. Or I have, for example, I have a thermometer I'm using for tracking my water temperature. Yeah. And that one is powered over USB-C. That's why I needed this. Okay. And that's why
What's
it was added.
Price and release date?
It's going to be about €200, but it's not only this.
So it's like 250
In the
bucks?
end, it also comes with a bunch
That's
of other aluminium parts.
So you don't like test bench platforms because they're big and they get kind of in the way.
Yeah.
So you made this, which is small, and then you made these, which bolt to it and turn it into a test bench platform that's big and in the way.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, it's modular, so I will use it like this.
So this is you doing the people a favor. But if it were up to you, you would only use it like that.
No, this is me as the Bauer, and this is Thermal Grizzly. You know, it's like me doing something, and then somebody said, but we actually have to sell it probably.
Right.
So we added this part. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. I think I understand. Cool. So then, before we jump over to the block detail with Joe, can you just the highlights, like what's hooked up here that's new from you guys, and then we'll jump over to Joe for
We
explanation.
have our beautiful Astral water block for 5090 Astral, obviously.
Yeah.
And then we are showcasing our new CPU block.
Let's we'll do a quick cut and get into the water block detail. All right, so now I am joined by Joe Roby from Thermal Grizzly these days.
Yep.
So we've talked before. You were at a different company at the time, and now you're doing engineering for Thermal Grizzly. We were talking a little bit about manufacturing difficulties, things like that. So what is special about how this is made?
Yeah, so it's a huge process actually. It's first machined from one side, and they're machined in a block of 4, and then from being together in 4, the whole plate's flipped, and it's located by the offcuts when it goes back down, and the opposite side's machined.
Okay.
So then we get what is essentially a blank part, and everything has a machine finish on. We glass blast the entire thing, but that also means we would glass blast all of the contact patches, which people want to be a perfect mirror finish.
Right.
So then it goes back onto a machine, and they all get faced off. So then we have a flawless finish with no machining marks on all of the non-contact areas and the contact patches.
So basically, on the back side, after you blast this, so it is you're not like masking these off. It's hitting the contact patches.
Yeah. So these would be left higher, like 0.2 millimeters higher.
Yeah.
And they get blasted, and then these get mounted piece by piece, and they get faced off.
Okay.
And all the inside stuff gets cut.
Cool.
And then
yeah,
machined again because we need to put it up on its end and make the parts for the terminal.
Okay. So it gets flipped 3 times in the
Yeah, like 3 setups, and the first 2 there has a plate of 4 pieces.
So what's the manufacturing time like on something like that?
For all of those steps altogether is about 2 hours.
Is that just for this piece, basically?
Yeah, just for the one piece of the
Not
block.
counting the
Not
actual
counting
full
that,
plate?
and that also has 4 setups.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about, I mean, like, can you give me some appreciation for
We're gonna do some
what
stuff
the
with the
time
high
limit means, I guess,
KVMs of
'cause
that over the weekend.
if you were gonna make
All right,
a
guys.
really simple, cheap, or cheaper,
I'm gonna start
relatively
working
speaking,
on
block, that's kind of like
some of this,
you know, like
the
this
stuff
will
to
do.
get set up for this 5060 testing, and we're gonna go from there. So thank you guys for hanging out. We will talk to you soon. Adios. Everyone stay safe out there. Enjoy the Memorial Day weekend. If I don't talk to you, everyone have a good one. Bye.